This is one of the most disturbing, unsolved crimes in German history. A family brutally murdered inside their own home, their bodies hidden in the barn, while the killer stayed there for days, calmly living among the corpses. This is the story of the Hinterkaifeck murders. On April 4th, 1922, a mechanic named Albert Hofner traveled to a remote farmhouse deep in the Bavarian countryside. The Gruber family had hired him weeks earlier to repair their barn motor. When Albert arrived, he immediately felt that something was off. The cows and dogs in the barn were restless, making noise as if they hadn't been tended to. Yet the rest of the property was silent. Not a sound came from the house. He knocked at the door, called out their names. No one answered. Albert waited in the yard for nearly an hour. Still nothing. Just as he was about to leave, he noticed the machine room door was unlocked. He went inside, fixed the motor, and decided to tell a neighbor about it later. The closest neighbor was Loren Schlittenbauer, half a kilometer away. When Albert explained the situation, Loren was disturbed. He knew the Grubers well. Andreas, the strict patriarch, his elderly wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, and Victoria's two young children. They weren't the type of family to disappear suddenly, and they would never neglect their animals. So later that day, Loren and two other neighbors set out to the Gruber home themselves. When they arrived, the dog was barking frantically, still chained. The house was dark, and like Albert said, the machine room door was unlocked. The men stepped inside cautiously. The machine room was empty, quiet, smelling of hay and oil. They pushed further into the barn. The door was heavy, latched shut, but with effort, they forced it open. First, everything looked normal. Farm tools, hay piled in the corner, the earthy smell of animals. Then one of them froze. Beneath the hay, a pale shape, a human foot. They pulled the hay back and uncovered the body of 72-year-old Cecilia Gruber. Nearby lay her husband Andreas, her daughter Victoria, and 7-year-old granddaughter Cecilia Jr., all brutally murdered, their skulls crushed. The men were horrified, but the nightmare wasn't over. Inside the house, they found Victoria's youngest child, 2-year-old Joseph, dead in his cot. And in her room, the new maid Maria Baumgartner, who had only started working that day, also murdered. 6 people, an entire family wiped out. The investigation soon revealed that the murders hadn't happened that day. The family had been killed on April 1st, 3 days earlier. But in those 3 days, someone had been living inside the house. The animals were fed. Smoke rose from the chimney. Fresh bread was baked in the kitchen. Blankets were neatly pulled over some of the bodies. Windows stuffed with cloth as if to block views inside. The killer had not only murdered the family, but calmly stayed there afterwards, going about daily routines, just meters above the corpses. This was not a quick robbery. Money and valuables were still in the home. Neighbors later recalled strange things before the murders. The Grubers had often complained about hearing footsteps in the attic. Their previous maid had quit suddenly, saying the house felt haunted. Andreas Gruber himself claimed to have seen mysterious footprints in the snow leading from the forest to the farmhouse, but none leading back out. Dozens of theories spread. Some suspected neighbor Loren Schlittenbauer, partly because of his history with Victoria. Others thought it was bandits or soldiers from the war, or even someone secretly living in the attic. But no one was ever convicted. The case went cold. To this day, more than a century later, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of the most chilling unsolved crimes in history. And perhaps the most disturbing part is knowing that after destroying 6 innocent lives, the killer stayed there, feeding their animals, baking bread, living among their victims. And then, just as silently as they came, they vanished, leaving behind only corpses, questions, and the sound of footsteps in the snow.